Welcome back to the channel. For all my new viewers, I hope you hit the subscribe button. For everybody else, thank you for coming. Thank you for returning. A tentative deal has been worked out between the New York prison system, the Department of Corrections, and Governor Kathy Hochul. So this deal has been worked out between the union and the governor. And it's a tentative deal. What a tentative deal means is that it's experimental. It's a trial run. It means that the deal is not permanent. That's important because supposedly this deal is only lasting about 90 days. But what it entails right now is that the National Guard will begin drawing down out of the prison system, and the correctional officers have until Saturday to return to work. I believe that, in my opinion, the union caved under the pressure of Kathy Hochul. I say that because she started to issue sanctions. She was threatening to remove their health care, and she was actually issuing summonses and names to the court system for repercussions. And so I know they wanted to come to a deal pretty quick. They're also standing out there in the freezing cold, and who knows how long they could have kept that up. But as I said, it's a tentative deal, and it's taking place right after this weekend. But during the weekend, by Saturday, these officers have to return to work. What the deal consists of, it's not as much as you think. It prevents future unsanctioned strikes. This was an unsanctioned strike under the Taylor Law, which is why the Correctional Officers Union didn't really back them in the strike. They were verbally saying that they were against the strike. So as part of the deal, they can't have any more unsanctioned strikes. It eases, as part of the deal, it eases their mandatory overtime. They were very concerned with working 24-hour shifts, and as part of this deal, that's going to be relaxed and eased up on them. They're also going to get, as you get time and a half when you work overtime, they call it time and a half. Well, they're going to get 2.5 times the pay. That's part of the deal, right? They're also going to get a bump in overtime pay. So we're talking a lot of money from them. They're getting a lot of money. They're getting an increase in the overtime pay, and then if they work overtime, they're getting 2.5 times of that increase, right? So they're getting paid very well. Part of the deal is that it suspends the HALT Act, which is the Solitary Confinement Act, which is the Prison Reform Act. It suspends that act for 90 days. Right? That means that correctional officers who claim to be very worried about their safety and felt that they need the use of solitary confinement, that certain aspects of the HALT Act will be suspended for 90 days. So the officers will begin to use solitary confinement again. After 30 days of that, the New York State Commissioner of the Department of Corrections is going to tour from facility to facility to evaluate the situation and how it's working security-wise. Okay? So to fill you in on everything, the guards and the union came to a deal. It's a tentative deal. It's experimental. The National Guard's going to start to draw down. The officers have to go to work by Saturday. As part of the deal, it prevents future unsanctioned strikes, stoppages. It eases the mandatory overtime. There's a bump in overtime pay 2.5 times, and it suspends aspects of the HALT Act. That's the information that we've been given so far. One thing that I wasn't too happy about was hearing, or maybe I should be, I don't know, because it wasn't spoken about, was the fact body cameras, that officers need to wear body cameras. I thought that Governor Hochul should have made that part of the deal. See, in the budget for 2026, as I mentioned in a previous video, Governor Hochul approved $400 million for cameras in the facilities, right? She approved this already. $400 million for cameras in all the correctional facilities. and she approved another 14 million for body cameras, right? And I felt that she really should have made that part of the deal. In other words, if they want more pay, if they want less overtime, if they want to suspend part of the halt act, then part of that deal should have been, then you guys have to wear body cameras. Because in my opinion, they don't want to wear body cameras so they can continue to be abusive. To be honest with you, that's as straightforward as I can be. If they claim that prisoners are throwing feces on them and prisoners are attacking them and it's a dangerous work environment and they're threatened all the time, I would think that they would want these body cameras to record those incidents, when they're transferring prisoners, but I don't think they want them on them for several reasons. One, because they put their feet up on the desk a lot and kick back and read the newspaper and drink coffee and relax much more than you think. And which means, in essence, they're not doing their job. If an officer has to do rounds every 15 minutes, according to the directive and according to the correctional law, but he only does a round every 4 hours, he doesn't want that recorded. You know what I mean? If a prisoner commits suicide in his cell and he hasn't done a round in 5 hours, right? He says, "Well, I did my round, and when I did my round, he wasn't in there hanging from a rope, but the camera will be able to tell us whether he did his round or not." And so if they assault a prisoner, if they beat a prisoner, if they did what they did to Robert Brooks, none of it will be on film. So body cameras are very important. I think Kathy Hochul should have stuck that in the deal. you know um as far as the solitary confinement, it's being suspended for 90 days, I'm a little worried that they could take this out on the prisoners. I don't know when they go back in there what type of animosity is going to be involved between this whole thing that took place. As off the topic of the strike for 1 second, I don't know if you know that three prisoners were found dead during this strike. Um, don't know their causes of death yet, besides one of them. Two of the dead prisoners were in Sing Sing Correctional Facility. One of them was Anthony Douglas. Anthony Douglas was 67 years old, and he was serving like 100 years for murder and rape. So it was no big loss with him. You know what I mean? But he was found dead in his cell in Sing Sing. Another one was Franklin Dominguez, age 35. He was found dead in his cell in Sing Sing, and he was serving 6 years for an assault. And the first guy I mentioned, Anthony Douglas, the one I said no loss for murder and rape, he was found hanging in his cell. So who knows if he hung himself or someone hung him? I don't know. And the third guy that they found dead was in Auburn prison, and he was in there for rape and burglary. So no loss with him either. I don't like the rape charges. I don't care if they get eliminated. You know, but the guy, the Dominguez that was doing 6 years, who knows what happened to him for assault. But three prisoners were found deceased in their cells during this 11-day standoff or strike. So that's the news on the strike. I'm sure you're going to hear it all on the news today, but here I am, 4 o'clock in the morning, giving it to you. All right. I wanted to make sure you guys were up to date and you knew what was going on. So the strike has come to a tentative deal. And as I told you, tentative means experimental. It's like a trial run, but it does force the officers to go back to work. And once the officers go back to work, I guess the turmoil will hopefully settle down. You know, um, I'm a little upset about the Halt Act. I think the Halt Act should have stayed in place because it wasn't like you couldn't put a prisoner in solitary confinement. That's how the officers were making it. They didn't suspend solitary confinement. You were only able to keep a prisoner in solitary confinement for 15 days. And after that 15 days, if the prisoner still needed to be segregated, they would get put into another unit that they designed specifically for people to have therapy, for people to have vocational training. They were separated from the general population and put in this RRU unit, which existed. It was part of the HALT Act. So it wasn't like they just couldn't separate prisoners, but I understand on their end a little bit. So you do have a lot of crazy guys in there, so there has to be some give and take. I just don't want solitary confinement abused, because it does cause long-term psychological problems. It does, and 5 out of 6 people in solitary are there for nonviolent crimes. But that's not what this video is about. That's a solitary issue. This is about the strike coming to a tentative deal, and I will keep you updated as I get more information. But that's what's going on right now. So I hope you guys have a good day and take care. Be well.